Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, ooh, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In today's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be looking at the ongoing Arson case involving former Speaker Jonathan Funati Koffa and other legislators. We'll also look at Representative Musa Bility wants the legislature audited. Say if you can emphasize the Arson case, why not pay attention to corruption cases? Because the legislature is number one corrupt group in the country. Also, I didn't want to talk about it, but my hands are tied, and everybody's talking about it. Mamie versus former President George Weah. I'm not talking about a cow, but everything in between. We're going to be talking about that. Let me welcome joining us from Sheffield, UK, Dr. Fidel C.T. Budi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to be here.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman, our man from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure being here, Dennis. We'll hopefully have a great conversation.
Thank you. Let me also join us from Canada, Abu Bwakai Dukle. Based on the situation, he can use Bwakai or remove it. Tonight, he's not using Bwakai. Welcome, Mr. Dukle.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let me welcome all our viewers from across the globe. It's Thursday. We're supposed to be on Kia Radio 95.9, but there are some issues in Monrovia, and so perhaps they're going to join us later. Let me welcome all of you, starting with you, Dr. Budi. The case involving J. Funati Koffa, the legislators, 5 others. And we should not forget that there are others who have been in jail for about 2 months now. It's like everything now is the lawmakers, the big shot. The little guys are in jail. Probably nobody visits them. We don't have a people queue from Senko all the way to the Supreme Court. To talk about them, but they're there. Dr. Budi, what's the update on the case that you were hearing? Let me get your general sense. I don't know, you and I have not talked about this before, but let me get your general sense of what's going on here.
Well, I think, look, it is a tragedy that the Capitol was burned down, right? But what is also a tragedy is the way that everything is being handled. what we do know in terms of a timeline is that as soon as the fire engulfed the Capitol building, the president was there, which he should be, right? As the leader of the country, a tragedy like that, you expect him to show up, which he did, and we commend him for that. But he automatically and immediately prejudiced the investigation by indicating that it was arson, right? Without any investigation, without anyone having assessed any of the evidence on the ground, he said that this was arson. Now, the question there for me is, prior to the so-called arson, there was another fire situation that was caused by electrical faults. And we know that after the Capitol burned down, there was a third fire situation, again, caused by electrical faults, right? So as someone who can read between the lines, I'm asking, okay, well, how is it not possible that the second fire was caused by electrical fault? Now, we know that the police IG came out on the 9th of January with the head of the fire services and said, look, this was arson. We've done our investigation. We've arrested some people. And by then, we know that I think Thomas Eldridge had been in prison for over 20 days or something like that without being charged, which was a violation of his human rights, right? Because you have to charge the person within 48 hours. He was in jail for over 20 days without being charged. That was a violation of his rights. We know that later on in February, these guys were taken to court to be prosecuted. The lawmakers at the time, because the Fonati Koffa was still technically the legitimate speaker, he was untouchable, right? So they didn't go after them there. I think it was only Kamara or DB who was invited for questioning, right? And they were just persons of interest, right? Now we know this mobile phone of Eldridge has been in the police possession since they arrested him. Whatever evidence they found on there, they've had since December. So how is it now that is May that you're arresting the lawmakers on the same evidence that you've had in your possession since December, right? You arrested Eldridge in December. You said that these guys were communicating in their chat room that, oh, we need to go get Eldridge's phone because something on it. So you've had this phone, you've opened the phone, you've gone in the phone, you've seen the evidence, you've built a case against these three individuals. I think the other guy is Weah, and then I forgot the last name of the other guy, based on the evidence in the phone. But then you didn't arrest these guys. And then in March, what's his name? Gregory Coleman brought some of his bodies from Minnesota to come buttress his investigation, as we say. Came around, walked around there, didn't do any forensic evidence, forensic assessment of the scene. And this is where I'm starting to get concerned. Because when on IG Coleman came out on the 9th of January, he said they saw one container with flammable liquid in it, which they believe was the source or the thing that caused the fire. That's what they used to cause the fire. When his three bodies came from Minnesota, they said there were 8 containers. So then I'm sitting there and thinking to myself, whoa, how do we go from 1 to 8 in a space of 2 months? So are you saying to me that when the fire service of Liberia did their investigation, they didn't see the other 7? Where did those other 7 come from? Because you don't need to be an expert to see a container, right? Any one of us walk into that building, we can see a container. If the container is there, we'll see it. So how did they see only 1? And now we've got 7. On the 20th of January, Front Page Africa reported that these 3 guys alleged that they were tortured while in NSA custody to implicate Fonati Koffa. Any civilized society, automatically there was going to be an investigation, an independent investigation to ascertain whether or not these guys have been tortured and whether or not they have been forced to implicate Koffa. There was no investigation done. Their allegations have not even been listened to your point that you were saying, oh, because our lawmaker now, everybody running around. But these guys claim, and they all corroborated each other's stories. The same thing that Eldridge says, the same thing that Weah says, the same, oh, they beat me, they did this to me, they say, I must say that Koffa did it. These 3 guys were held separately. So how can their stories align so well and Front Page Africa can report it and we do not investigate? Now, to come to where we are, what I've heard is that these guys were called in at 10 o'clock on Friday. They arrived at 9:30. Fonati Koffa came with toothbrush, indicating that he already knew he was spending the weekend in prison, right? Police IG did not turn up allegedly until 5 o'clock. right? You invite people for interview at 10, you turn up at 5, knowing that the courts will be closed, so that you can embarrass them by arresting them and keeping them in prison over the weekend. That politicizes the entire investigation. Because there is no society in the world where you will arrest or you will call lawmakers in at 10 o'clock and then you turn up, I don't know how many hours of that, 8 or whatever hours later. That's just unacceptable. Clearly, there's politics in this. Now we look at the evidence in front of the court as it's been reported. I've read the Observer today, I've read the Investigator and Front Page Africa just to try and see and piece these different. The voice recording or the video that these guys say that they have, which journalists are reporting on, talks about a conversation about the legitimacy of Waka's presidency. Oh, you calling the man president? Man, I'm president. And who you can go to the hall, you be calling him. How is that implicating someone in setting fire on a building? They say, oh, Koffa incited his followers by saying the Alamo. And forgive me, Dennis, but I'm going to say this, and I hope our audience can forgive me as well. I'm an educated man, right? And I did not know what Alamo meant until I went and Googled it recently. So how is it that the ordinary Liberian man will understand the meaning of Alamo? That when Fonatif read it on his page, they will automatically become incited. When they don't even understand, when those of us who are educated don't even know the meaning of the word, we gotta go Google it. You won't tell me all the Liberian ordinary Zogo then went on Google Alamo, where Alamo? Oh, they don't want to go for it. Then it's like, yeah, seriously? That's the evidence you're coming with. Right? Look, this entire thing is politically motivated. It's unacceptable. And I agree with you that we need to draw attention to the other 3 guys who have been held, where we know that in February, after already been charged and being arrested and then prosecuted, the prosecution came out to the court and said, oh, Mr. George, I beg you, can you give a few more days so we can go find some more evidence? How in the world can you start a case in court without all your evidence, and then you said the judge will hold the people for you to go find more evidence? This is crazy, and this is unacceptable. My call now is the Minister of Justice. I don't think we've ever done this in our country before, but now is the time. The Minister of Justice should find an independent lawyer to serve as a special investigator to review all of the evidence that the police have gathered and assess this case as to whether it merits going ahead. They're not even supposed to be bothering the court with this kind of thing. We need some, because we cannot trust the police. We cannot trust the Ministry of Justice. We cannot trust the prosecutors. We need someone outside of government, like a Tier 1 Gongolo, for example. Like, let's get our version of Robert Mueller, right? Let's get our version of Robert Mueller to come in and serve as a special counsel so that we can give some credibility to this investigation and prosecution. Because whatever the outcome is, for most of us, we already see it as politicized, and we will not accept it as fair.
Thank you. I know I wanted to follow up, but let me give Mr. Dukley a chance. Mr. Dukley, where the case is now, so what matters most will be the evidence, right? What is your sense of the evidence the government supposed to be having against these guys?
Really, Dennis, thank you for that question. I think from all what that have unfolded thus far, the evidence put forward by the prosecution so far, and which has been challenged by the defense, and they are saying that it's circumstantial. And as a matter of fact, the defense is saying that the container that was found, it wasn't found in the vicinity of the house, and so they are challenging. And again, I think so far the evidence produced by the prosecution is flimsy at best, and really I don't think it can stand rigorous scrutiny in the courts.
Do you know the evidence?
Pardon me?
Do you know the evidence the prosecution has?
I mean, what they have presented thus far is this recording and the container that was found, and making assumptions about what they thought happened. And so if you put all together, and it's no wonder why the defense is even asking for outright dismissal of the case, because the defense believe that the prosecution has not proven anything that can directly link their client to the accused, to to the allegation made. But you see, Dennis, one thing people are forgetting about this whole thing here, no matter how you look at it, no matter how the United Party try to distance themselves from this whole thing is politically motivated. And the way the police has gone about doing this gave justification to that argument, to say that it is politically motivated. I mean, why is it that the 3 men who have been in prison for almost 3 months, you don't hear anything about those people, and nobody has thought of looking into the allegation they have made, that they've been coerced to implicate some of the accused. I mean, has that been investigated? Has that been determined to be true or not? And if so, then you can see why the prosecution, the defense is insisting that this case should be dismissed, because you cannot, even in circumstantial evidence you have, sometimes there are some corroborating evidence that can substantiate that circumstantial evidence. And so far, the prosecution has not done that, And so, as far as what we know and what the police and the prosecution has presented so far, personally, I don't think it can stand in a court. I don't know if there are more to that which that they presented, but so far, what they have presented against those accused, I don't think is convincing.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think there's a bigger tragedy to this whole case, if you may want to call it a travesty. And the reason why I say that is because I'm looking at our Justice Department capability of investigating and building a case, because without justice in a country, without the rule of justice, without the court systems being effective, we don't have a country. And yeah, we are. I mean, it was something last year was something where they had evidence of drug traffickers with the fruit of crime on hand, and they walked scot-free out of our courts. Now here we are seeing the elementary way that this case was handled, so much that you arrest people, you bring them to trial, and you ask for time to produce evidence. There is something inherently wrong with our whole judicial and justice system. And if we don't fix this, it will have negative effects on the growth and progress of the nation. Yeah, we could delve into Koffa and this whole political thing, but it's beyond political. It's incompetence. Why can't we even build a case with the preponderance of evidence? Why can't we even build a case and adjudicate it properly? What has happened to us? This was not us. We've heard of things in the past that were very, very wrong. But today, it is the norm. It is the norm to be incompetent. You can't even bring evidence that you claim to have. I don't think it's so much a motivation, political motivation, as much as gross incompetence,
right?
Of judicial and legal.
How do you square that gross or supposedly gross incompetence to excusing or to if somebody did it, right? Because two things can be right. The police can be incompetent, and yet those they got could be the actual culprits. Mm-hmm. That is possible, correct?
Yes.
And Jimmy, before you even answer that question, explain what is this Alamo?
They talk of that. I can't even understand why Koffa would use that word.
Mhm.
Because Koffa it's an American thing that happened down in Texas some time ago. Liberian people are not identified with the Alamo.
You messed up.
Why would he cite the Alamo as a battle? It's a battle, okay? Why would he cite the Alamo as if Liberian people know what he's talking about when he said the Alamo? It's something I couldn't even understand him. This is the disconnect between
Yeah, but how many times have we not used crossing Rubicon? You know, exactly. So I mean, what's wrong with that? Anybody, we can use all. We have used metaphor. Some of talking come from the United States and all that. In fact, in Labrador, we don't bread and butter issue, pocketbook issue. We don't
Okay,
even have pocketbook in Labrador.
well,
We
we
put our
hear
money
you.
under the mattress, but we borrow all these things from America. So what's wrong with Alamo?
The phrase refers to being in a situation
Right.
where you're facing a desperate situation and months.
Do or die, and you stay there until you die.
Thank you. So you have to defend yourself with everything you have. That's what
Exactly.
Alamo is.
Exactly.
Really
I
means.
mean,
Okay,
so why are you saying Koffa shouldn't use it?
because it's not culturally related to Liberia. How many people knew that? People had to start Googling it. Unless you're in
Exactly.
America. Why?
And that's why
Why
I
would you
labeled it
not?
all the American.
Why would you not use like when the crew chiefs face the
But
U.S.
that's
Navy?
not cultural. Let me go to Booty because we don't do that. I've been complaining every time you quote people. Oh, ask what not your country do for you, but what you. Nobody is quoting me. Nobody is quoting Dr. Sawyer. Nobody is quoting Fidel. Nobody
Uh,
is quoting Formula, right?
look,
So
wait.
isn't this what we used to?
No. I think look, the way I see, obviously the definition I've seen is there's a poplar tree called alamo, right? The Spanish word for poplar tree. I don't even know what a poplar tree is, but that's what it says. And then the other thing is the site, as in the fort where the battle between Texas and my point here is look, and that's the point I made earlier, and that's the point Mr. Eastman is making. 99.9 9999999% of Liberian people don't understand what Alamo is, and I'm amongst that 99% because I had to go and Google it. Right? I read a lot, and I've never come across the word Alamo before. Right? I had to go and Google it. That's how flimsy the notion that he posted on Facebook the Alamo, so that's the link between like the Alamo doesn't say. Look, I would have hoped to see when I read the not transcript, but the excerpt from the recording, something like me talking to Mr. Eastman. So, Jimmy, you get a beginning the math for the team, let it the men go buy that stuff because that operation need to go down today. Now that is implicating me into something that I'm planning something big. I don't have to say money for gas or money for fire. Once I speak in that kind of language and you got it on tape, a guy like me will sit there and say, yeah, I can see how they were planning something, right? Or let me call Mr. Duke and say, Chidu, I stay waiting for the Mayo. I need to go buy the thing because the operation need to go down 4 o'clock, and then the fire went off at 4. That makes sense. But for someone to be talking about their disdain for the president, and then another man to put the Alamo and then take it down within, I think, few hours, right? So he put it up and then took it down. That for them is the evidence that he was inciting and he's connected. And I agree with you, Dennis. I agree with you. As Liberians, one of the reasons I think we are lost as a people is because we don't appreciate our own culture and historic figures, right? By quoting, because there are a lot of them. You talk about it. Even Samuel Doe, and you can find something that Samuel Doe said at some point, or Tolbert said, or Totman said, or whomever said. I know mattress to mat or whatever to whatever. There are a lot of quotes that we could use in terms of Bacchus, Matthew, and them who were a part of the progressives at some point. I'm sure they had quotes that could be used. And I agree with you 100%. But when we come back to the issue at hand, two things that I want to settle on is look, we need someone independent to conduct this investigation because there are 3 young men whose lives whose future is on the line, right? Are on the line. Because at the end of the day, nobody is speaking about them like you pointed out. We need someone independent. And the second reason is to trust the outcome. So that some of us don't go start writing on Facebook, the Alamo too. And then they kind of arrest us if you did that order you set a fire on our building there. Because if the government continue and these guys are convicted on such flimsy evidence, some of us will write the Alamo too. Because at the end of the day, we'll be vexed. And then they kind of arrest some of us and go like, bro. Because at the end of the day, it will be clearly a miscarriage of justice. We need someone independent to give the investigation and prosecution credibility. You're muted, Dennis.
Mr. Ducle, I mean, the best thing we can all do now is to wait, right?
Yes.
For the actual evidence to be presented, because what I'm hearing, the government is saying they have a smoking gun. They say if this was not the case, we would not arrest sitting lawmakers. We have it. Mr. Ducle, are you prepared to wait before drawing any conclusion because you don't want egg in your face tomorrow?
Sorry, Mr. Ducle. Let me apologize for jumping in. But if you have the smoking gun, that's what the judge needs to see. So then he decide that what are these breaches that burning. So they shouldn't be hiding it. Present it to the judge.
I think it was supposed to be today or tomorrow. Because the trial has come to a place.
They've rested already. The judge is now making his decision. They've rested.
Oh.
The defense did not even argue. The prosecution have already argued, presented their evidence. This is when you should produce the smoking gun. Because you need to convince the judge that this has to go to trial.
Right. So where we are now, should we go to trial or be dismissed? Before coming on the show, I'm not sure whether I got that conclusion. I don't know if you did.
No.
I read. That's why before I went and read 3 different papers just to be sure that and in 2 of the papers they said the prosecution has rested their case. They presented the evidence to convince the judge. Because this is trial. The right now is all about should we go to full trial or not?
Or not.
Is there enough evidence or not? So present the smoking gun.
That decision has not been. That verdict has not been passed yet.
No.
Dr. Ducle, Mr. Ducle, should we wait?
No. It has not.
You want to jump to conclusion?
Actually, yes. I mean, it's only prudent to wait for that because I think the defense did present a very good case for dismissal. And you see, one of the things that they raised that I thought is credible, which is at the time of the arson, who was in charge of the building? Was it not the police? And so if it was the police, with the reputation of the police, their misconducts, well-documented misconducts, and some of the other illegal things some police people have been implicated for, why are they not looking closer to them, since they were the one in charge of the building at the time of the arson? So there are just so many questions with few answers, and the onus is on the prosecution. And so I think it is only proper to wait for the decision to dismiss or to proceed. It is only then that I think it will be wise on everyone's part to wait for what the judge has to say. But again, in my lay, I'm not a lawyer, but in my lay person understanding of what has been presented so far, I don't think the prosecution has presented any convincing case, particularly the one that will implicate Fonati Koffa.
Jimmy, does it worry you how the country has been divided between, for and against, and a lot of people not waiting for anything? It's like people have dug in their toes saying they're the one, others saying they're not the one. This is political. Do you see, that general sense that the country is just divided between, just black and white?
When it comes to that, I think it's along political lines. I think the UP party faithful have a vendetta or a target on the CDC and their members, and so I see the division come along those lines. I don't think it's a division amongst ordinary Liberians, like that are not non-affiliate with any of those political parties. So that's where I see the division on. But for people like you and myself, Dennis, and my two other erudite panelists here, we see it as a gross negligence on the part of law enforcement for the very fact that they have not come up with an ironclad case. They've jailed and disgraced members of the highest institutions in our country, which shows a complete disrespect for our culture, values, and democracy. And that is where we stand. And we're in trouble. If we cannot have people of power to have the moral integrity required to administer justice and fairness in the country, we're not going to have a good state of the nation, because it is a requirement that they administer justice evenly. At the Temple of Justice, there's this symbol of a blind woman, a woman blindfolded and carrying weights. In other words, justice has to be administered without bias, and that hence the blindfold. And the weights simplify the availability or the preponderance of evidence. And if we're completely deviating from those standards, from those pivots, the pillars of our justice system, we're in deep mess, and they don't realize what they're doing. I don't think the ones who are in power now understand what they're doing to the very fabric of our existence. They think it's just child's play. It's been like that for long, that we are not conscientious about the importance of maintaining standards in our country. And so I don't think it's the ordinary Liberian people. I think the division is just along party lines. It's selfish. It's not considering the fairness of the whole trial at all.
And you said something which I want to push back on, is like you were saying, hey, you caught the big shots. This is not our culture. You shouldn't, only the little guys should suffer in jail, not the big shots. Is that what I heard you say?
Okay, then I'll explain it further.
Okay.
It's not that nobody should be above the law. I totally agree with that. But when you bringing a elected official to justice, you have to do it properly. Or
and still, but if there's somebody in 0.4, you don't have to do it properly. Convince me why the difference you're making.
Okay, the difference is these people are elected. They represent a large population. They are representatives of a large group of people. So when you do that to that group, don't look at a person. When you do that to that group of people, you disenfranchise a lot of voters.
Okay.
That's what you've done. Now, again, an individual is not above the law no matter who you are. But just remember, when you're doing it to an elected official, he's representing a group of people. So it's not just him you're doing it to. You're doing it to a lot of people at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Dugal, I want you to conclude on this one, then we'll move on to our next topic. Burning the Capitol building, I mean, heinous crime. Bad. But there are other things happening. There are other fires, right? Fires in which people die. Some, I believe, have not been investigated at all. We just say, oh, there was a LEC, there was an electrical something.
Yeah.
Or the houses are so congested, they are building in the alleyways. And so people are dying from fire, and then there is no investigation.
Yeah.
Nothing. Okay. The other thing is we have other cases, right? Corruption cases. Money belonging to a whole or group, one person will take it. But we seem so laser focused, or the government seems so laser focused on this one, then other case. What does this say about our priorities? Maybe because this is political and the other one non. What's your sense?
Yeah, and it just goes to tell you how when the when the house was burned on December 18, I believe it was. I stand corrected on that date, but it was even less than 24 hours. We heard the president said it was an arson without any evidence, without any proof that it was arson. Whereas we had similar fire in another place, they quickly said, "Oh, this was electrical malfunctioning that led to the fire." Now, it just and this is where I have problem with people who say this is not political at all. This is, I mean, you can smell politics all over this from the very beginning, and so and to make matter worse, Gregory Coma did not help the government with this impression that people get from this whole thing. So even though there are players who are very prominent in the politics of Liberia, in the person of former speaker and his colleagues. So that gives it a special flavor where, particularly when they are on the other side of the aisle, fight with the other side. Otherwise, how do you justify these people being charged 6 months after the fire? What justification does the police have or the government have to say, why did they not charge them when those other three gentlemen that are in prison now, they've been there for 90 days? How do you explain
Yeah, there's probably gathering more evidence, but we also know to all of you.
It's the same crime, Dennis.
Yeah, I think they said they had help from the U.S. and other places. They're still compiling evidence.
I don't buy any of that, Dennis.
But quick question, just yes or no. Should a case go to court, go to trial, or dismissed? Yes or no?
It should be dismissed.
Jimmy, dismiss or go to trial? You're muted.
From what I'm understanding, there's too much lack of evidence here that it doesn't merit going to trial.
So it's no. That's a good.
Well, mine has a caveat. No, mine has a caveat. I think it should be dismissed, but somebody has to pay for the fire that engulfed the Capitol. So that's why I think even with dismissal, we need someone independent to conduct a respectable, credible investigation that is grounded in competence. Two things, and one thing that Mr. Duque and Mr. Ismail both question: competence. And then present the evidence and say, okay, look, based on this evidence, I don't think we should let it go completely. We should dismiss the case now because the evidence is not enough and it's tainted. But get someone independent to gather all the evidence, start all over, revisit everything, bring some credibility and competence. And then if we get the evidence to convict, to charge people, then we charge them properly. But someone has to pay for the print.
Yes. Somebody has to, because you believe somebody did it.
Yes.
Well, that's what the evidence, the guys from Minnesota said it, even though I don't believe them, but Gregory Coleman reference that he brought. Gregory Coleman said it, even though I don't believe him, but let the investigation tell us, right? Because the investigation might conclude an electrical fault. And then it's nobody's fault, right? Then we blame the LEC, right? But it has to be complete.
Because if and we can blame LEC if it is electrical fault, but if the people that make so much money can't even get a decent bathroom, that you think they will do anything to fix the current so that it will not cause fire? But many things have happened in our history that every time something like this comes up, you don't want to jump to a conclusion, even though you can't walk to a conclusion. But that's a good one, right? We saw in the cattle camp massacre where NPFL framed the AFL and it worked for some time. My father told me a story that two rival crew subgroups, they wanted to go to war with the other, so they plotted that let's start a fight, let's attack ourselves and blame it on the other guy to give us reason to go to war. So when they started, they spoke the other crew subgroup They got to the outskirts of town. The first house, they said the guy was someone who are the fringe of society. They shot and killed him, and then they spoke the other crew that they wanted to attack. Say, we have come, we declare war, and then they went back. So when the case went to court, the judge said, I don't know, whoever declaring war will go kill one person and run away. So all these things are possible. It's possible that the Koffa group set the fire. It's also possible that the majority group set the fire to frame the Koffa group. It's also possible that one witchcraft saw the division and decided to set the fire. In any case, we
And it's
want
also
to get,
possible that LEP set a fire.
exactly. It's also possible that one mosquito call they were having their spark and that happened. So let's wait and see what happens. Our next stop is the chairman of the Rule of Law Caucus. I don't know after this one is still there. Musa Hassan Bility, who is also Representative Nimba County Electoral District number 7. Musa Bility has he said he stands for transparency and accountability, and he challenged President Joseph Newman Boakai to muster the courage and order an audit of the national legislature, which he said is at the peak of corruption. Musa, in an open letter to President Boakai, he said that there is systemic theft, stealing of public funds within the legislature, which the president should not turn a blind eye on. Musa is saying all this at the time this Arson investigation is going on. Jimmy, do you think it's a distraction, or Musa is genuinely committed to accountability and transparency?
Here's what I'm thinking from his statement, that he's trying to show where our focus and priority should be. He's saying we're losing energy, we're losing time, we're losing resources for something that should not be prioritized. And he's really trying to say that we are not, our priorities are not correct, and then that the very scarce resources we have, we're not channeling them to the right places. And that's what I think he was truly saying there. But what he doesn't understand, and from what I'm gathering from this whole episode, is that UP tends to destroy CDC any way they can, the best way they can, and totally in finality, they want to destroy CDC. And so, yes, when your prior question is whether this is politically motivated, I agree. It is totally politically motivated. And if no one does not see the battle that is being fought between UP and CDC, then they might as well crawl back under the bed, because this is what is going on in front of our very eyes. The tragedy of the whole thing is
Musa is CMC though.
Yes, he is CMC today, but he's still opposition. Okay. And he was with the other groups. So I'm not going to go down that track. But the idea is we are seeing in the political arena in our country a fist fight. And the tragedy is none of them can be a hero because they both lack integrity. So
does he have a point though that actually, or he's just trying to take our attention from the arson to say, hey, what I mean, because the corruption case will be against the UP, the UP, because they're in charge now. So he want to play offense instead of defense, don't you think?
He's trying to make a name for himself, and that's all he's doing. That is for his political ambitions. That's what he's coming up with that.
Mr. Dukley, you think Musa is trying to redirect the focus here, or it's all about Musa?
I think I'll beg to differ with Brother Jimmy on this one. I think what Mr. Bility is calling for is what every Liberian has been yearning for. And even with that said, I don't think if there's ever going to be an audit, I don't think the audit is going to be only for 3 years, 4 years, whatever, however long CDC was in power for. But it doesn't really matter what period of time you audit. It's no secret. We know that a lot of things happens in our legislature that is not proper, that is not legal. And so, yes, you might question who Musa Bility is, but I think what Musa Bility is calling for is what the Liberian people want to see, what the Liberian people need to see, so that there is some accountability of their money. Because you see,
But
just
Mr. Dugan,
because,
why
huh?
now? Why now? And he's a lawmaker. Can he not act if
Yes.
he just talk?
Well, I think the way our legislature, the way it functions, look, then it's, in my if I should analyze this, uh, look, this is all the spring for 2029. Everything is geared for 2029. This is the prelude we are seeing, and so Musa Bility has just come up with his CMC, and so he wants to look different from Unity Party, the CDC, and all the other political. He wants to be different, and so I think one of the things that he wants to champion come 2029 is this corruption issue, in a way that is going to be unconventional compared to. I mean, by unconventional, I mean the way other uh, political parties have talked about dealing with corruption, and so this is the first time we've heard somebody even calling for the legislature to be audited. I mean, I don't know. I stand to be corrected, but I think this is the first time somebody in the legislature is asking for that very body to be audited. So I think it's courageous on his part. I mean, like I said, you don't have to look at Musa Belede for who he is, but what he's calling for, I think, is what all the Liberians are calling for.
Mhm. According to Funati Koffa, that's why he was calling for, and that's what prompted his ouster.
Yeah, I mean, you see, it's different when it comes from Funati Kofa, who also is very tainted, as a matter of fact, and who also has a track record of so many dubious things that he did prior to becoming speaker and even while he was speaker. So he can say all he wants now, but the way the legislature, the way it functions, the way it works, I mean, he has to say something to make himself look good that they were coming after him because of that. But the reason why Musa's call will have some legitimacy to it, in my opinion, is that Musa is in no leadership position. One, two, Musa has just been elected to that body, maybe less than a year. So you can see that he's a freshman in the legislature, and so he comes with fresh ideas. I mean, this could be part of his argument. I'm
Thank
coming
you.
from, so, but Funatu Kofa was already part of the body, and so, but as a matter of fact, uh, when Funatu Kofa said that's the same thing he called for, and that was why. I don't think that statement is correct. He's only saying about. I don't think that was the reason. I mean, some people might argue that, but I don't think that was the reason.
Thank you. Dr. Budi, same question, but let me put a twist to it, right? Because there are already existing laws that say that if you take 5 cents from the Ministry of Finance, you got to be audited. Why is it that Musa is not putting forward a bill? Because if you're supposed to do something and you are not doing it, you are breaking the law. Why is it that he's writing the president like he's asking for, like it's optional, like he's begging him, he's appealing to him? Doesn't he have those tools that will make the president accountable if he's not doing what the law says?
Well, first of all, in 2014, there was a new law passed by the legislature, which the president signed into law, called the General Auditing Commission Act,
Right.
right? 2014.
Yeah.
And that gives the General Auditing Commission the authority as the supreme auditing authority across all government entities, including the legislature. It is the
Correct.
General Auditing Commission that is supposed to initiate. The Auditor General is the one person. The president cannot. The president, obviously, because the president can appoint the Auditor General, even though it's a 10-year, I think it's a 10-year position, and I stand to be corrected on that. But the Auditor General has that supreme power as given to him by that act, or her by that act, to initiate audit of any institution of government, including the executive, including the judiciary, including the legislature. So all Mr. Bility needs to do is to write a letter to the Auditor General and say, look, it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years, it's been 4 years that the legislature has not been audited. Can you conduct an audit of the legislature, right? Now, the other question that we need to ask, because you just saw me looking down, I was checking my phone quite quickly just to research who audits the legislature. And what we need to ask is, okay, how is it that the GAC has been auditing all other branch entities within the country, and for years they've not dared to audit the legislature? Why do we have a sitting representative saying, oh, come and audit us, when they've already given you the power since 2014 to audit them on a regular basis? Because like you said, Mr. Ja, every year in June or July, I think, when we approve the budget, the legislature get a chunk of that budget. So they should be audited, right? The General Auditing Commission, through the Auditor General, should commission regular audits of the legislature. Once he completes or she completes their audit, send a copy to the president, a copy to the legislature. That's what the act says. So why is it? I think that the bigger question is, wait a minute, but you got the power, not the legislature. The legislature has given you that power. They've outsourced that power to the General Auditing Commission. Same way they've outsourced the power to regulate telecommunications companies in Liberia to LTA. Same way they've outsourced regulating electricity in Liberia to the National Electricity, whatever. It's the same way they've outsourced auditing of God, because they are the ones that appropriate money. So they're saying, look, when you have time to be running around auditing people so that your job, you audit. So why is the Auditor General not audited? That's the question we should be asking. Mr. Bility should be saying to his, putting a motion on the floor to call the Auditor General into the National Legislature to ask him or her, why have you not audited this entity for the last 15 years or the last 4 years?
That's why I asked the question. That's why I asked the question. So if Mr. Bility is not doing that, is he just bluffing? You know,
it's possible. It's showboating. It's like Mr. Duke said quite clearly. This man has set up a new political party, right? He needs to get traction to position himself for 2029.
Yeah.
Recently, when he went to see Fonati Koffa, I don't believe it was just because they're friends in the legislature or they're part of the what they call the law and order block or whatever. Fonati is not a CMC member, right? He's with the CDC. I think CDC should have been the only party going to see him because they are parties in prison, right? The ANC and the other then I went there. They just went there to gain traction with the Liberian people, and I believe when you, like you, Mr. Ja, you already said in your question the answer. Why is he doing this? Because in your answer you already know in your head, but this is GSC's job. So why don't you just call GSC to come and do the job, right? In fact, why do we have to call GSC? And then the legislature with their oversight power should be saying, Auditor General, we need to report on Monday because we need to ask you a question. Why have you not audited this entity for the last how many years? Because that is a blatant derogation of duties that the Auditor General of the Republic of Liberia is afraid to audit the national legislature. And that is unacceptable. And they need to answer that question. Mr. Bility needs to change his tone. He needs to call on his colleagues to invite the Auditor General to the House of Representatives to answer questions as to why the legislature has not been audited and that audit report has not been made public for the Liberian people. And going forward, it should be done every year. That's the GSC's job. That's why they have that whole entity. That's why we pay them all the thousands and thousands of dollars that we pay them to do the audits and let them do their job.
Thank you, Jimmy. Is the House of Representatives, the Senate, is that the pepper bush? Because nobody goes near, and Mr. Bility knows that it has not been done, so he putting the pressure on the president instead. But he has the power. It reminds me of Senator Dillon and Senator Kanga going to the U.S. embassy to ask the UN embassy to do what they're supposed to do?
I want you to first clarify for our audience what is the pepper bush, because our audience needs to know.
They can research.
If a Liberian person don't know what pepper bush is, then we'll get in the Alamo again.
So, if for the listening audience, if you kind of our CEO has all these innuendos, but he is implying that this is somewhere they can get, something from. When you have a pepper bush, you don't have to go buy pepper every time. You just go to the bush and take some and go eat food. So this is where they get their lay something from. I don't really believe in any of our representatives until they show me that they can pass a budget that will prioritize the people, education, health, and things that will bring about prosperity to Liberians. But right now, their priority is in receiving huge salaries and all kinds of benefits, new cars every 3 years, gas slips, all kinds of stuff. This is preposterous. So I don't have any faith in this legislature because they do not prioritize Liberia. They prioritize their own wealth and fatness. So as a result, we're going to stay underdeveloped for a long period until we rid ourselves of these greedy guts that are leading the nation right now. That's the only way we'll begin to prosper. We cannot prosper with people like this at the helm. And it's just practical. Let's be honest. It's not going to change until we change them. So I don't have much faith in anything they're doing there, not at all.
And Mr. Dukley, are we going to see, because it appears that we all want all branches, all entities, whoever is receiving money from government audited. Are we going to see that? Yeah. If no, what can we do?
Well, it's only because we are talking about the Republic of Liberia. Otherwise, auditing is a normal part of any functioning government. It's a normal course. It's only in Liberia that when you talk about audit, people are skeptical. When you talk about audit, people think that you're out to get them. But auditing is, look, Dennis, this is it's so rudimentary, it's so elementary that anybody who knows about government knows this. It's only in Liberia that when you talk about audit, people think you're out to get them because they themselves know they are bad players. They themselves know that they are stealing. And so it just reminds me of somebody telling me, oh, you don't have proof that these guys are stealing money. Do I really need proof? Really? So, it just goes to speak to the mindset of the people who are in charge of Liberia, the way they think. Otherwise, Dennis, audit is supposed to improve, service delivery. Audit is supposed to, point out where things need to be improved in terms of financial management. All the things that we know that auditing brings to proper governance. But because we are not having proper governance, all we have people who are only interested in enriching themselves at the expense of the people who elected them. So, this is a no-brainer, as they would say. But we need to have a regular auditing of every government department. Every government department needs to be audited, and the outcome of the audit needs to be public, so that the people that pay this money to the government know what is being done with their money. So, it's embarrassing, it's shameful to hear people say, when you talk about auditing, oh, they're out to get these people. It's just embarrassing,
It's important that you kind of lay out the purpose of audit, right? And that's why even during the election or during the campaign, when they say, oh, this person has never been caught in corruption, we don't even have internal audits, or even if they are done, the results are not public. for us to see. Take, for instance, political parties. At the end of elections, you're supposed to kind of do something,
Yeah.
so that we see your books. It's required.
Yes.
No, nobody does it, right? I don't even know. I was in one church when I told the pastor, "Hey, let's make report." He said, "Well, the people not faithful to their paying their offering, so I can't give them any report." So it's like this whole idea of transparency of financial reporting. I mean, we saw what went down with Tara Suffering Rally.
Yeah.
So all these things, nobody is getting audited, and we expect government to be.
Well,
Fidel,
Dennis, just like you said something, even here where we are, and I'm sure the same thing might be this. It might be the same in England. Churches are audited every year. Every 12 months they are audited. Every institution. Look, we okay. Like let's say for us here, we don't have private universities. Most of our universities are public. We are funded by the government of the province. So every year, my department is audited. It's a normal course of thing that we do here. I mean, it's almost like if the audit is late for by a month or two, you see people in the department ask, "Oh, what's happening? Are they not coming to audit this year?" Because we have made it our. You talk about best practices. These are some of the things that they call best practices. But Dennis, do you know of any institutions in Liberia that call for them to be audited themselves? No, because look at the answer that the pastor gave you. I bet you, if you scrutinize that answer further, you're going to find that that individual who was telling you that he or she is misappropriating the people's fund, and when he's audited, everything is going to come to it's going to come to the public knowledge, and it doesn't want that. I mean, that's how we think. And because of the way we do things, because we know we are not honest, we are not sincere, we are not ethical in what we do, so we are afraid. We think that if we are audited, all our bad deeds are going to be out there. But audit is supposed to make your institution more vibrant, more functional.
Fidel, I want you to, Dr. Budi, I want you to conclude on this. I mean, what's the way forward?
Well, the biggest problem that we have as a country is corruption. And corruption doesn't always, and we need to let the Liberian people understand that corruption doesn't always have to be where, say, Mr. Eastman go in and take money that doesn't belong to him. If I go into government and I overpay myself, that's corruption, right? When I'm getting more than I'm entitled to, based on, because like in the UK, for example, I was reading today, our MPs, members of parliament, our own legislators here, they said that the way that their salaries are determined is they take the average salary on the market, and then they add matrix to that, like cost of living, like traveling from their district to London to go to attend parliamentary hearings and all those kind of things, and then they decide, okay, look, this is what we think that they should make, right? And at the end of the day, that's how it should be in Liberia. We need to assess salaries of public officials against the economic climate, against what, for example, is our GDP. Your GDP per capita can be 500, and then somebody taking 10 times that amount every month whilst working as a public official.
Yeah.
The way forward, unfortunately, is a difficult one. We have to rely on individuals, because one of the reasons why the Auditor General is not auditing the legislature is because he or she is afraid that soon as he or she mentions audit, they say, "Hey, we're in contempt,"
Yeah.
and then they get, "Oh, I won't be held in contempt," right?
Yeah.
It's and not only that, but like Mr. Duque alluded to, he or she has their own skeletons as well. They're doing something at the GAC that if somebody go and audit them, will expose. So it's almost like, I scratch your back, then you scratch my back. For me, I think
Yeah.
the bigger picture solution is we have to make public service financially unattractive, right? We have to make public service financially unattractive, right? The only way that Liberia can start to crawl and move forward is when we take the money out of government. When I say take it out, we have to find a way. And I've been thinking about it for the past 2 or 3 months. I wrote a piece that hopefully will get published in Liberia soon, where I'm starting to articulate how I believe we can get there. But if you can reduce how much money a representative can collect, trust me, the rogues will not go into the legislature, because you tell somebody they can't work for 2,000. Because right now, each representative, if you take their salary, 8,000, their gas allowance, 2,300, that's 720,000 in 6 years. That's what each of them stand to collect. That's why when they go in, they don't care about you and me, Dennis, because they're like, but Dennis might not vote for me next time. I'll get my 720,000. I reach already by the time I see here finish, plus the extra envelopes. So if we can find a way to take that out and make, say, working in the legislature, you earning maybe 24,000 a year, right? Say 2,000 a month. People who actually want to serve will go in, because you're not going in because of the salary, right? Because the salary is not that much. You're going in because you want to serve, and hopefully that will start to put us on the right track. So in, say, the General Auditing Commission, for example, pay them maybe 4,000 or 5,000 a month. Take all those gas slips and scratch cards away, and trust me, it will only be people who, like say Mr. Ismail, or like you, Mr. Jar, who have served in the private sector for years. You've made your wealth, right? And you think, you know what? Let me give back to my country, right? And then you go become Auditor General. So then you're not afraid for being held in contempt anymore, because you don't care what the legislature black your pay or didn't black your pay. You got your businesses that running and bringing you money, right? Similarly, if you got someone who's going to be Speaker of the House, and she doesn't really care about, whether her salary count or salary doesn't count, whether they pay her 1,000 or 2,000, or whether she get car every, she would then start to cut back on this. And that's how I think we solve it. We need to take the financial incentive out of public office, and then we will start to see people who care go in. And that's the starting point for me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday. We're supposed to be on the Kia Radio 95.9, but for some reason, for technical issues, we are not there. But let's discuss our last topic here. I think it was last week when I said we're not going to talk about the Mamie Doe and George Weah case because it was irrelevant, because there were some big things. But I have to go the other way, because a lot of people say, hey, you have to talk about it because this is trending, or a lot of people are talking about it, and we think there are certain things that we want your great panel, I mean, in my view, the best panel on and all of internet television should talk about it. So let's talk about Mamie Doe versus George Weah. We all know that former President Weah and say, well, that Doe's son, and he's getting grand jury is voting for Doe as our son. So this whole idea of former President Weah being former President Doe's son is that's what we know it to be. And this goes back to the Lone Star days and all that, right? So now it started with a handshake that President Weah went at the former First Lady passed away, went to sympathize, shook hands with people. When she got to Mamie Doe, who is the late president's daughter, he did not shake hands, but did that his thing, right? But before that, we saw videos after the First Lady died of the First Lady and her daughter, Mamie Doe, going out and talking about President Weah, how he was not helpful. So it was expected that this thing will continue. So when this happened, also President Weah was there, and we saw the video. He was responding to that, hey, these things happen. These are my people. My mother has passed away, so I'm not going to come here and talk about it because she's there. She won't defend herself. In other words, I have done what I needed to do as son, and also as government of Liberia. So in other words, I really don't owe her anything further. Then there was this issue of cow, where there was a lady there who said, Arson, we want to kill cow, so give us cow. Former President Weah gave the cow. Later on, the former president's daughter, Mamie Doe, came out and said, we don't want your cow because at the time we needed you, I'm paraphrasing, you were not there. So this is no time to come. And it goes on and on where Mamie Doe also went accusing her uncle, Zoe Penno, the grand jury senator, that he's a demon. In fact, he's responsible for her mother's death. On and on and on. We also saw a press release supposedly coming from the Doe's family saying this thing, say what Mamie Doe said is false. We saw a grandchildren woman say, hey, it is not her place to reject the cow. We want our cow, we want to eat cow. So there is all this Mamie Doe and President Doe story. Let us not forget the mother, the former first lady has not been buried. And so, in being respectful to the, people who are grieving. So we want to be respectful so that we discuss this respectfully and to give honor to someone who has also served the country. But as a matter of fact, focus on Liberia, and we got to focus. So, I have to bend over backwards and say, let's talk it. Dr. Booty, I mean, there's this thing going back and forth. The public, the general public has taken sides. Some say, hey, it's not her place. Some say she's grieving. And what's your take?
Well,
For
first of
what's
all,
going on here?
yeah, I think first of all, like we said, I think on point, we want to again extend our condolences to the family. I'm friends with SKD Jr., who lives here in the UK in Coventry, and I reached out to him when I heard the news. And obviously, it's a difficult time. I know losing your mother is always a difficult thing, irrespective of whatever politics people want to play about it. I listened to some of the recording from about by the former first lady, in which she mentioned, for example, going to see President Weah at one point, and he keeping her waiting for hours and hours, and basically shunning her at the end of the day after having her wait for such a long time. Am I do I think that is not true? I would say no, because I believe from people I know who know President Weah and how they talk about him, he is that kind of person. I know SKD was working at the Freeport of Monrovia under President Shirley. He hedged his tent to Joseph Boakai in 2017, and Weah had a problem with that. And for him, there's this collective guilt, right? Oh yeah, your son, he ain't support me when he support Boakai, and da da da, and that's where all of this animosity. And even when she tried to talk to him to forgive Junior, that your brother and da da da, he didn't listen. I think when we fast forward, right? I think for Mamie Doe, I can understand the hurt because the expectation is that look, the stories, I don't know how true they are, is that President Doe was very instrumental in Weah's ride, right? And he himself, through various elections, and when he went to Grangida County, always cited Doe as his father and wanted the people from Grangida to vote for him because of that. So when the wife of your father, who is your mother or stepmother, depending on how you want to put it, comes to you and say, "Look, I need your help," and knowing that she served as the former first lady of the republic, and I wouldn't be surprised if when President Weah used to go and see President Doe when he was president, I'm sure he was in the company of the first lady as well. I'm sure she showered him with some lovely words and stuff like that. Probably even cooked for him to eat and stuff like that. So the way he treated her, which I believe her story that she told on the internet before she passed away, the way he treated her was appalling. I would be upset if you treated my mother like that, especially if I know that, oh, my dad and my mother, by extension, were nice to you. They helped you, they contributed to your rise. You've used my dad's name to get votes in Grangida County. Now, the wife of the man whose name you've used needs your help, has come to you and begged you. Look, Dennis, what is the difference between a what's his name? Former information minister Nangbe. What's the difference between a Eugene Nangbe who left you and went to become Unity Party Secretary General and ministers in transport, information, and then for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and SKD who were just doing a little hustle at Freeport? What's the difference? I don't see the difference. If you can welcome back Eugene Nangbe, how can you not welcome Giondo, whose dad helped you to get to where you are. So I can understand the resentment, the hate, and the anger in her. He now, and we blasted President Bouaka when he sent his text messages during Unification Day. President Weah, former President Weah, being a statesman, right? And Mr. Eastman, you're the statesman, and so you know the thing. Being a statesman, going to visit the home of the fallen former first lady. You don't go there and add a small picking and be holding thing in your heart. That's what I want to elaborate. You don't go there and add a picking because that's how he acted. He acted like a small boy that ain't get brain, right? He went there and held onto something that Mamie said online or that the Oma said online. So then you shake the girl hand. Hey man, the woman not died. If there was ever a time for bygones to be bygones, this is the time. Go there, you shake Mamie Doe hand, doesn't mean that you appreciate what she said about you. You're just respecting the woman who has died because that's the reason you say you went there. You went there to go pay respect, but then you disrespected her by not shaking her daughter's hand and then made a whole kerfuffle about cow, respect, and this. You're a grown man. I think he got like 10 children. The George we are man talking about here. So how can you be a man of 10 children and don't have the common decency to respect this dead woman by just being decent and civilized? Shake this girl's hand, it will not kill you. But no, you decided to disrespect the woman. After disrespecting her when she was alive, you decided to disrespect her now she's dead. And then people want us to say what about you? This is appalling.
But Dr. Booty, you are not even listening to Weah's side of the story.
I do not want to listen. Look, I know enough people from around George Weah to know that this is his behavior. I've got personal friends of mine that 1 minute George Weah was behind their girlfriend, they went and took their girlfriend from him. He can't talk to that person again, right? I know many people who were eating in the same bowls with George Weah today. He's not speaking to them for slicker gossip, right? So this is his character. It's not new. So I don't need to listen to his side of the story. This woman said he did it, and he has proven to us by disrespecting her while she's dead that he did do those things when she was alive. Because there is no excuse, Dennis, for not shaking Mamie.
Thank you, Jimmy. Some look at Mamie Doe as that this is petty. In fact, this is your mom passed away. In fact, when the president is there, when you're on the mount, you sit down. She was like, even when the mother passed away, I think. So she was there and was expecting a handshake. And so now, because they didn't shake her hand, she was there when they said, well, we want a cow, here's the cow and all that. And yet, after all this went down, it's like she too was kind of responding to the lack of handshake. What's your sense of this whole thing?
Well, let me share some piece of etiquette with our listening audience. When you reach to a big, who taught me this? One guy called Edmund Claw. He became a PhD later on, but when I thought he had that conference, he had a master's degree. Was teaching us English at LU. Edmund Claw. When you approaching a big man, a big person, an honorable person, an older person, you don't be the first to reach to show your hand. You wait for them to show their hand before you shake them. I know plenty of people don't know this. That Edmund Claw taught me. So anytime anyone refuted, you'll go to Professor Edmund Claw. I don't know where he is now, but that is the etiquette. Okay? So in other words, you do that out of respect and out of courtesy, and that's the protocol. I think where the handshake we're making of this, I don't think it went well. The fact that I would have hugged her, maybe not shaking her hand, but maybe give her a hug to show, because that's what we do in our culture, to show my nearness to her, my empathy to her. That's what I would have done. But there is a lot. Apparently, there's a lot of underneath things. If you're listening to some of the memes that have been going around where Nancy Doe is being interviewed and the way she's speaking of Weah. I think in general she was not treated very well by all the successive administrations. I think what she was getting as first lady of the deceased president, was very meager.
And Jimmy, when you say not treated well, do you mean personal help or what the government supposed to?
Well, yeah, what the government? I think she was cheated out of money.
No, that one was separate case, right?
Yes.
Cases we have with people
What
who
government
take
was to her was meager. They could have done much more. Given that, I think I don't know if the legitimacy of Doe is being questioned. When I wonder all of this, because a lot of people to today they really question legitimacy, especially when they say he it wasn't a fairly ran election. He did not properly win. Jackson Doe was the true winner of the Liberia Action Party, and he just forced himself after coming to power through a violent coup d'etat, and he was not even the main person who killed Talbot. Yeah, but he still he was the leader and became a very, very desperate dictator. He slaughtered a lot of people. So, the legitimacy of Doe, I think, is being questioned. That's what comes into question.
And by extension to the wife.
Yes, that's what I think I see happening. And so the daughter now and the son, I think they need to realize the facts of these things, and let bygones be bygones. She shouldn't expect anything. I think what she's really mad about is I think they are due money and they have not got it, and that's usually.
And this money is not because I don't know of any. Normally, when people leave power, they all complain. In fact, Walker was complaining. Everybody's complaining.
Yes,
because when they're in power,
correct.
they don't put those things in practice, in place. But when they leave, they want those things. They want to get them. And by the time, this is 1990 till now. So even if she had a 401k, and I'm using my US, if she had a pension fund, maybe by now it has depleted, right? I want you to put that into perspective, because if we are not, I don't think the issue with Weah was what government owes the former first lady. It was merely personal help as a form of gratitude.
Oh, well, there. I think there is some of that, but I think I honestly believe that woman was robbed. Well, it's if Steve and Steve make God laugh. I'm paraphrasing Mr. Booty here. Steve and Steve make God laugh. I think that woman was cheated out of a lot of her husband's wealth. And I know some cases. I'm not going to mention it because I don't want nobody to come to sue me. But I know many cases where she was actually cheated by people. Like, you see Zopena and all that kind of thing. There's a reason. There's something underneath this whole thing. Once Doe died, a lot of people took advantage of her and started cheating the woman. So that all that kind of animosity, all the stuff she got underneath it, and they don't want to talk it. They should. I think they should talk the real thing so they can know. So they can everybody can get it.
Mr. Dukley, Jimmy talked two things, right? One is Steve from Steve made God laugh. In other words, the wealth that the former first lady is feeling entitled to was ill-gotten wealth, right? Especially something that came, from taking the lives of other people. That's one. Two, this people also cheat even in your own family, because she accused Zopeno of taking what belongs to her, or even not giving the former president's documents or some paperwork to her. So all these things are there. So that's one. There are also people that are saying that, hey, the name Samuel Doe is not so pretty. Yes, he was president, but it was not so pretty. So the more we see Doe, the more we see Taylor, the more we see Prince Johnson, we are reminded of the horror of the 1990s. So let us just sit down and be quiet. Where do you stand?
You know, I have said this on this platform before, and Jimmy sort of alluded to something like that. Yes, there were a lot of things that Samuel Doe did to Liberia and to Liberians, but I think you have to take into account what we are dealing with right now, which is the passing of Nancy Doe. And then as what Dr. Budi narrated here is not in question, it's not in doubt. The account pretty much represent what happens. And I say this just so you know, where I live here in Winnipeg, uh, Nancy Doe had only one brother, one single brother, Amos Bond. Amos Bond lives in England. His wife lives right here in Winnipeg, where I am. So the wife, I'm very close to the wife, and so through her, I was able to learn a lot, and even through Mr. Bond himself, I was able to learn lots of the things that many people in the Liberian public don't know.
Okay, share with
So,
us.
there were a lot of things said about Doe that were not true, and I mean, I don't think this is the moment for that. But I just want to say here that there was a bad blood between Nancy Doe and George Weah. And Nancy Doe herself said on numerous occasions how she tried to reach George Weah on several occasions and she was not able to see him. And the only time that she was able to see him, it was only for, I don't know, less than 15 minutes or so. So there was that bad blood. And I think in this instance that we are talking about, I blame George Weah. George Weah was petty. George Weah was irresponsible. You know, I mean, we know traditionally death supersedes everything else. If you are not talking to somebody, if there's death in that person's family, that death will become the reason why you would talk to that person. If you are having a fight with somebody and you are not in good terms with the person, if death occur in that family, because of that death, you will speak to that person. I know this to be the tradition of many tribes in Liberia. And so to see George, we are former president coming to sympathize with the family and not shake Mame's hand, that was just irresponsible on his part and very childish. And you know, look, I don't think it is proper for us to extend whatever Samuel Doe did to Nancy Doe. Nancy Doe was never the one who committed anything. Yeah, she might have been a beneficiary of some of the things, but I don't think we should hold her equally as much as we hold Samuel Doe. It was Samuel Doe who committed this crime. So is she guilty now by association? No, I don't think it's fair to her. After all, we had all these number of years gone by, and whatever happened to her, you know, through panel, what we heard, all of that has happened. This lady has gone to, you know, she's gone to the great beyond. I think she only deserved the respect for that moment with decent burial and say goodbye, let the family mourn her, and let's move on. But you know, I think George Weah was very irresponsible in this instant, and he did not show any you know responsiveness in terms of the way he reacted to Mamie. After all, I mean, Mamie is a baby, and when I say baby, I'm comparing her to George Weah. So what excuse does George Weah have for not shaking her hand in public? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just beyond me. But you know what?
You think it was fair to return the gifts, the cow and the bag of rice?
In my judgment, I don't think that was right. Because again, like I said, when you factor all the things that occurred before we got to this for this cow and gift, because even within the family, there's division. There are people who are saying return it. There are people who say no, we're not returning it. So even among the family themselves, they are not agreeing on what's the course of action should they take. So, but in my opinion, if you do that to me and I'm involved, I will not accept anything from you.
Right. And do you have a sense that Mamie Do is talking, and then there are people who don't want first the small person to say anything. Number two, a woman to say anything. Do you find that sense that hey, what right you have? We are the elders. In fact, be quiet. In fact, you are a woman. Where's Gion Do? You're not even supposed to be here. Do you get that sense?
Well, I mean, again, I mean, yes, tradition dictates that the elders will be the one that speak for the family. Usually, we refer to the elders to make decision on our behalf. But remember, Mommy grew up in the West. Mommy was born in Liberia, but Mommy entire life she lives in Europe. She was in England and the Netherlands. So Mommy just came back to Liberia not too long ago. So her orientation is it might not be the traditional orientation that some of us had, but traditionally that's how things are done. As a matter of fact, you don't. If you're a child, you don't have an opinion with anything that has to do with the family. It's the elders who make decision on behalf of. But Mommy comes in there with different orientation, and so as a matter of fact, somebody mentioned that it is not Mommy to determine what the family does. It is the family elders, and I don't know if any of you have seen that video, but there was a lady who was saying that we will accept the gift that George Weah brought. And we will decide. It is not Mommy that make that determination. So,
and that's my next question about bringing Jimmy on this whole idea of family, right? Because let's say the Zoe penal factor. According to Mamie, Zoe is the son of former President Doe's sister.
Yeah.
So Zoe is not a Doe. The letter that was written, they say from the Doe family. Interestingly, I did not see in that list someone from Nancy Doe's side. I wanted to see either a Nancy Doe brother, a Nancy Doe sister, a Nancy Doe somebody. And coming from Africa, especially what I saw in Ghana, where when the man dies, the family will come, especially from the father's side, they will come and kind of push out the woman. So did you have a sense of that too also going on, where the man's family? Because I wanted to see if Nancy Doe relatives, sister, brother, if she had some uncles, nephews, if they could be part of that Doe family. So I didn't see that.
Again, I think they took advantage of her because of her gender. I remember when my grandmother died, and my uncles came from Riverside to bury her, and they give me respect because I was a man. But if I was a woman, none of the proper anything would have come to me. They take advantage of women in our culture, and if we dig under it, you will find that they've been taking advantage of Nancy Doe, and that she didn't explain all. She said man can't talk all, but women sometimes can't talk all.
No way.
But I know for a fact, and I did say that they've been taking advantage of that woman, and that's how life is. But Doe left a lot of wealth, and for her to be broke doesn't even make sense, not at all. So yeah, she had a lot of boon to pick with a lot of people, including Mr. Pennell. Because Mr. Pennell made that man. I know her before. And so she had a lot of boon to pick with plenty of people.
I mean, the fact that you can have a letter coming from a Doe family, that to me, that was red flag. I was saying that we're in Ghana, where my brother had a girlfriend who, the Ghanaians that live in Liberia grew up there, right? When the father died, they were all in a nice place in Accra. But when the father dies, the brothers of the man came and drove everybody out of the compound. Oh, I mean, including their own nieces and nephews. So, and that really stuck with me. So when I saw that, that was the first thing that came to my mind. That Dr. Booty, we'll talk about the Zoe penal factor, and then there is a James Diba factor, right? Who came up and said, I mean, this Weah guy, I mean, he's all this. Two things that stood out. I mean, Weah and Deba had not had all that lovey-dovey relationship. So it's like kind of expected. The second thing is the where he went to say it, class reloaded, which is because people are saying now that this is all political. In fact, that's why when Mamie came, Mamie went and met President Boakai. So the Unity Party might have had something to do with this. So with Diba being on the Unity Party propaganda platform, which is Class Reloaded, which I have really I don't like what they're doing, because you take top government official and get and to compete with us, and you take all the resources. I wanted to be on ELBC, I wouldn't. They are charging 200 per day. Every episode is 200, right? $200, you know, and that's another thing. I don't have a beef with them. But if he appears on Clash Reloaded of all places, which is a government propaganda place, does that also give credence that this is all propaganda and political than what we want to make it to be?
Dennis, I think first of all, let me just say, Jimmy, if you're a woman, you're not going to be a fine woman at all.
That one I will go
The end of the day, look, we've all said the same thing, and we're all in agreement that, look, as president, former president of Liberia, forget the fact that people say that, oh, you treated this lady horribly and all those kind of things. Shake Mamie hand. Let Mamie move her hand when you shake it. And then all the noise we're causing now, that Mamie will be causing the noise for you. But you, the big brother, the old man with gray hair all on your face, then you go there and you shake the girl hand. You shake everybody's hand, but her hand, and then you can't shake it. Yes, she went to see Boakai. Yes, Biba is being political about the situation. I don't expect less, because George Weah ostracized him when he became president, and even though they had played for the national team together, they were tied for years. And yeah, when he became president, he was like, no, for whatever reason, maybe Diba said something that he didn't like, or Diba took some girl that he didn't like, whatever. But at the end of the day, the central issue here is one. George Weah, once you went to the house to meet the family, you're supposed to shake the girl hand. You didn't do it. Everything, that's the cause. Diba is a symptom. Mamie Do is a symptom. George, we are not shaking her hand, is the cause of all of this thing. And he needs to take responsibility.
Dr. Budi, Mamie had fired the first bullet, because we saw the video with Mamie and her mom saying all the things about Weah. And I believe, and that's another thing, right? Where Weah might have seen those videos. The accusation that, hey, I'm here, you call me your mom, but you didn't help me. He was aware of that before the death. So, but he chose to address it when he went there.
Dennis, if I, Fidel Budi, insulted you one day, and you told Mr. Eastman and Mr. Duque, oh, Fidel insulted me, and I heard you telling them, I know I insulted you. God forbid something happened to your family, and we're supposed to come and sympathize with you. Then I shake your hand and say, oh, because you were telling Mr. Eastman, Mr. Duque, I caused you. But I did cause you. You don't let you lie. I don't believe that Nancy Doe lied on George Weah. Right? So you're getting vexed for someone telling the truth, and then we should feel sorry for you. The woman told her truth, and then you vex that you must insult her and disrespect her, and then she will not say nothing about it. At the time, because that's how people who are around him say President Weah like to be. He like to demean the people around him, subdue them. That's why apparently he was sleeping with all your ministers' wives, right? To make them little.
You don't have proof of, Mr. Budi.
No, that's why I said elect. I said people said. I didn't say that.
Okay.
I know some of the things personally as well, but that's not the point. The point, I'm just trying to make a point here. The point is, at the end of the day, you treated this woman this way. She has a right to express herself, right? You have to also consider, Dennis, here that this video or these videos did not come out, as far as I know, and you can prove me wrong, until after her death, right? The people who are publishing them now, that the people you should go get bear with.
Yeah.
Who knows whether she was just having a conversation, like she thought she was having conversation, like a video call with her somebody. She didn't know they were going to publicize the video one day. It wasn't publicized while she was alive, as far as I know, because I only saw it after her death, right? So it wasn't publicized while she was alive. She's already dead. Someone else put it out, right? It might be Mamie. It might be the other guy who's doing the interview. I don't know who did it. But it wasn't Nancy Doe that put it out. At the end of the day, this woman still respected you even after what you did to her. You went to her house, to her place to sympathize with the family. My brother, Dennis, you cannot say that you came to sympathize with me and then the grudge that you've been holding against me from 10 years ago, you still can't there, then you want shake. Then you didn't come to sympathize.
Yeah.
Because if you came to sympathize with the family, you sympathize with all of the family, not 99.9% of the family, and then exclude Mamie. He started it. He the one can end it. You need to apologize to Mamie Doe for not shaking
Yes.
your hand, and then beg her to take the cow. That's what I would do because I'm a decent human being. I can recognize when I've done something because we all make mistakes. Myself, sometimes I shake somebody's hand before. And then when I tell them, I say, oh, but sorry, man, I'm supposed to shake your hand and I apologize. You have to be accountable. He's not above, he's a human being. He made a mistake. Accept that you made a mistake, apologize, and beg her to take the cow. And she would do it. If she then said no, and on the other point about what the family is doing, look, I believe that, and this is traditional, right? Once Samuel don't pay her dowry, but family bidding, nobody get down for that. No, but that woman I do now. So any letter that can come from the Doe family, we got to pay her dowry already. So she a Doe. She not no more. I know her middle name was Bo or Boom or
Boom.
whatever it was.
Boom.
But she
Boom.
not born no more. She Doe. Everybody know how to be Doe. So that Doe
But-
family she part of.
But Penno not do Penno from the man's house. So Penno,
No, but you say Penno is Doe's sister daughter, right?
right.
And son.
Son.
Yeah, so he's a Doe because Doe's sister will be a Doe, innit? She would marry a Penu, so that's how
Right.
his dad's name is Penu, but he's
Yeah,
still
so
a
he-
Doe because he got the Doe
so-
blood.
So he Penno, let him move him off from the do business.
But he Doe too, and Mr. East
No,
was
no.
saying he
The
Bangor
same
man.
way, the same way, next to do, because the Penno
No.
people paid his man Darry. So let him go that side now.
You
If,
know
yeah,
what?
if I'm making
Well-
that argument, then yeah, you're right.
Well, let me add this. Penno is the big man for the family right now. That's why you see the Penno linking up. So you know our society, the family business, sometimes the uncle can become the big man for the family. And that's how Penno is right now. He's the biggest man. And so they care all the complaint to him, and he had position. I think he in the Senate, all those kind of thing. You know those people that they vote in solidarity. So when they hold you, you're the big man for everybody. And they care that they complain to him.
But Nessa do have been complaining about him.
That's why I'm telling you.
So
He got money for her.
But I think other people have their opinion to share. So please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Call and let's talk. Because the thing here is, what really do we do with our former officials? Because let's say now the Senate, they were trying to pass this law to say even when we die, keep giving us money, because we don't even create anything. Like here we pay in 401k. There are other private people that will come and say, have this investment, your retirement fund, and all these different things. In Liberia, government officials don't pay into anything, but they should always get paid forever. Out of job, they should get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And this is always, I remember when Jacob Scott was destitute and was in the sleeping in the garbage, and he said he went to Ellen and said, even if I could shine your shoes. So people asked, but when you were there, who shined your shoes? So this is a repeating theme that our government officials, we don't put money away. We don't have any. I think it came from Thomas Fowler, who said, let's all the money we have, let at least create some insurance, something that looks like public option insurance. I'm paraphrasing. Where we'll put a part of money somewhere so that when somebody is sick who cannot afford, then they can use that. Our government does not think about any of these things. Okay, we don't have insurance. The issue with Brownie Samuka before was army people pension money that they put together, and then the government, he was authorized by President Salif to say, hey, let's play in it, right? So this question about organizing, it could be pension, it could be something that people could benefit from after they leave office, that question really has not been addressed.
The thing is, Dennis, look, couple of things here, right? First of all, those group of corrupt individuals at the legislature, we shouldn't put them in the conversation when we're talking about these things, because if you're collecting 720,000 in 6 years and you can't invest in your own future, then go Sam and shoot when I come to Liberia, right? I don't care about you, right? I think we have NASCOP. That's what NASCOP is supposed to be doing, this whole pension thing for government officials or government employees, right? They should be, my understanding is they collect because at some point I did like a 6 month stint at LBS 2011. And I'm sure the NASCO were collecting my money. So the day I retire, I will go in there for my pension. They pay my pension, they will say Alimo because it will not be good, right? But at the end of the day, that's what NASCO is supposed to do. Similarly, right, I think the point that you're making and where I would suggest we make as a country is if we appropriate our taxes properly, as in stop paying people in official government jobs too much money, and invest that money in developing the economy of the country to a point where we're generating significant income, right? People are working and doing well. People like in the UK, for example, we pay taxes, and part of those taxes go towards your government pension, right? So there's a public pension for
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody's entitled to a public pension, right? It's
Yeah.
not a lot, it's small. So that's why the government also encourage you to have a private pension as well. So I
Yeah.
have my private pension, right? I have my employee-based pension, and then I
Yes.
have my government pension. So
Yes.
hopefully, if I keep going the way I'm going, when I retire, nobody got to go cancel Dennis Korea should have been shining. No, because Dennis so big that shoe that the shining will take long, and I won't be shining shoe like that. So at the end of the day, I know the importance, and it's a cultural thing, it's a societal thing. We're taught that here as a society. Look, save for your future, save for your future. In Liberia, we don't teach people to Liberian people mentality. You listen to 90% of Liberian songs, and they're promoting live for today, tomorrow not guaranteed. But
Yeah.
you want live. Most of them want live till the 60, 70, but then they say tomorrow ain't guaranteed. But yeah, I know ain't guaranteed, but put something that just in case you reach 70. So at least
Yes.
you can. And I think there has to be a societal shift in mindset that we have to advocate that look, even if you're selling Wheeler Market, right? Find something to invest in. Start up a low savings account that you can put money in all the time. It will grow. By the time you hit 10, 15, 20 years from now, you probably have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 that you can utilize to look after yourself when you're old. But it has to be a societal thing because I don't think we are thinking about it as a group. Those are us in the diaspora because of the societies we live in. They make us think about it. That's why we're doing it. But we, as a country, as Liberia, we need to educate our people on the importance. That's why, Dennis, these guys that left government in 2017 were agitating so much to come back in because none of them, all the thousands they were collecting during Ellington, they did not invest that money. So most of them were broke. Most of them were almost destitute. Most of them didn't have a means to live the lifestyle that they were used to. Hence, they've come back into government now, and that's why they're trying to recoup. And I can guarantee you, when they leave government, give them 5 more years after they leave government, they will go back in. They never change their mindset. Invest in your own future.
Jimmy, I mean, you stay around government long time, even though you were not in government, but what do
Let's
we
start
do?
putting me as usual.
What is it?
Yeah, I said, what do we do with this whole, people you leave before you want to shine somebody's shoe, but you never put anything in place, and it's not even required.
Yeah,
What is,
as early if you, I mean, anybody who has done economics 101, you learn about saving. You have to save, and it would be better if instead of just putting the money down where it's not earning any interest, it's better to put it down somewhere secure and earn interest. So this is taught to people at an early stage. And if we're in a we're what they call under the poverty level, we're below the poverty level. And so saving is even harder for us to do, because we don't even have enough to buy the essentials, which is food, rent, and clothing. So it's difficult, but we have to do it. We have to teach our people to save. But how you tell somebody to
You
save?
mean it's difficult for the government? I mean, the people that don't have the regular people, but these people make tons of money.
Oh, of course, my man, it's rigged. We have no reason to buy those people. Let me tell you, when we used to buy them gaslit when they didn't get cars. Then when they started getting cars, we still bought them gaslit. Then they have been adding on.
They're still giving scratch card, just like when we had only Lone Star sell.
Exactly. So these people are we're not supposed to be giving them anything. Of course, they're supposed to be paying into their own pension scheme. Well, why should we pay them for the rest of their lives? For what? For stealing our money? Oh yeah. We have to.
And Jimmy, let me interrupt you because we're talking about the video with Nancy Doe and Prince Double. You know, it was not on YouTube. It was on Facebook. So I see here this video is of March 11,
who's
2024.
who and all that stuff.
That's the time it was. If you can see that.
Clear, let me make it clear. Anytime I tell
Morning. Before we see Weah was 8 o'clock.
8 p.m.
Yes. So
Let's go back to that.
in Korea. So you have a lot. You know, when you're the president, you have credit for everything. Everyone comes in, they want to do business with you. You don't even have to ask them. So he was in businesses with a lot of Lebanese people, you know, like whether it's factory, a lot of factories, a lot of Cemenco, a lot of building stuff. He was in a lot of businesses.
2024.
Yeah. So everything is under Vamuma. So his construction, also he built
Thank
a construction
you.
company.
I didn't want to call that
with
name.
Lebanese people for construction company. So they built Vamuma. So that's the one that's been in court since 17 years now. No head, no tail. So he came to me in 2012 and said to me, Veronica, do you want to get the Vamuma case out? I said, of course we want to get our Vamuma case. He said, okay, then I need to bring you a document where you lease it to my Lebanese friend. I said, so you're able to release it because it's fair. You're able to give us justice.
First of all, the old man went to ECOWAS court.
we went there to him. And then he is speaker for us. For we are to our, pension, our small thing only. He said no money.
You met George Weah and he told you no money.
I telling you, I said, the poor what they say, some of them.
All right. It's just that piece I wanted to share.
Yeah.
I have a pension money, but the video is and maybe
since you mentioned it, since you mentioned our talking, that Vamuma horse is for her, it's for Doe. But Alvin June's been fighting them for that property.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the things you don't want to get engulfed in stuff, but they've been cheating that woman. I tell you, they've been cheating her. They've been cheating her forever. They've been cheating that woman.
Who been cheating her?
Different people.
Like who?
That woman. When that man got her money, do you know that that man put money in different countries? Do you know she can't get it?
She's also get it.
You hear that woman's story, my man. Let me tell you, it's a pitiful.
Gentlemen, but thank you. Let's wrap up. We have 6 minutes to close. We don't have any callers, so let's close. Let me start with you, Dr. Booty, then Mr. Ducle and Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Booty,
you're muted, Doc.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, I do apologize. No, it's been a great show. I think The topic that we focused on today, in terms of the arson at the Capitol, uh, again, we all kind of said similar things. Firstly, the three individuals that have been in police custody for such a long time, we need to communicate or highlight their plight as well. It's not just these lawmakers. And the evidence provided by the prosecution so far, flimsy. The case should be dismissed, is my position. But there has to be someone held accountable for the arson. And I think an independent investigator who is a lawyer, I shouted out Councillor Gonglo as someone, but other people might have other names of more reputable Liberian lawyers who can oversee the investigation, weigh the evidence, and then decide whether or not it is strong enough to go and prosecute. And where we need outside help, try and get outside help so that there is competence aligned with it as well. I think also on the issue of honorability, Mr. Dukley nailed it perfectly in terms of him being a new party leader, trying to get some traction, because the Auditor General is the one that should be commissioning audit. And Mr. Bility should be calling on his colleagues to summon him or her to come and testify as to why they've not been audited all these years. Finally, I believe President Weah acted very childish. I think he acted immature. I think he disrespected the former first lady when she was alive, and did it when she was dead. When she is dead, and that is unacceptable. I think he should apologize to Veronica Doe, and then send the cow and the rice back. And I'm sure after the apology, those will be accepted. But yeah, great show, and look forward to the next one.
I think the Omar then said they're not giving the cow back, or you got the cow.
I read, some people made me laugh. I read somewhere on Facebook, someone was saying, "Hey, what my money go, brother? Hey, how do you let the cow? They just passing around and this, somebody catch the cow already."
I heard about rejected stone, but I never heard about rejected cow. But who knows? Jesus, God will answer.
Nigeria would like to set precedents, right? That's what we like.
Yeah. Mr. Dukley.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. I think it was a good show. I just think that this incident of arson has just exposed to the world how bad a justice system that we have, and how incompetent our police is. And I just hope, but I totally agree with Dr. Budu when he says we need to get to the bottom of this. And I think we can get to the bottom of it if we so desire. We can. And I don't know if the government, the United Party government, will muster the courage to try to get to the bottom of it. I doubt it. With all things considered, the way this government has functioned to date. So, but we are only doing what we can do to come here and educate and enlighten our listening audience about what is happening. And speaking about George Weah and the Doe family, I think the honorable thing to do would be to go back and apologize and let back on be back and let people move on. And Dennis, I want you to remember this today. Everything that Musa Bility does from here moving forward, he is not looking at right now. He's looking at 2029. Everything he does is geared towards 2029. And there's a lot of political maneuvering yet to come from Musa. And the first step is to create the CMC. And you're going to see a lot of people. He's going to attract a lot of politicians, who are going to be joining forces with him because of some of the things that he wants to do. I think it's fair to say that Musa is, despite whatever he's been accused of, despite all the things he has done, I think he has the ability to come up with some of the unorthodox things that we've seen in politics thus far. And these are some of the things that will attract some of the, politicians to his party. I just don't know if such a unorthodox way of thinking would be is sustainable with the political climate that he exists in. That chamber is a very difficult place to be. It's very hard to resist. But I can tell you, everything he does is all geared towards 2029. Let's stay tuned.
Isn't that what politicians do? By the time they win one election, is the beginning of another election cycle. Jimmy, you're closing.
Yeah, good conversation, good talk. There's a lot of injustice going around, and this is reflected in our everyday transactions. We hope one day Liberians will come to a point that we get tired of the mess, like the people in Singapore did. They got fed up with the corruption, the dishonesty, the chicanery, and all that was going on, and they put a stop to it. We have to reach that point. And once we reach that point, we'll be back on a trajectory toward greatness. I think we are great people. I think we're unique in all Africa, but we're getting in our own way. And until we allow ourselves to, what is right and what is wrong, and admit it, we will be on this trajectory until we get that right. So good conversation. We can only, like you say, I think what the brothers said, we can only tell the story to our listening audience and hope it will resonate somewhere else.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Abdul, and thank you, Dr. Budi. I want to thank our viewers for watching. Always focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberian. I can assure you, you can find this anywhere else. Until then, we close with a song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night, and God bless.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.